So while you see trees passing by, I just wanted to show you guys a little bit of one of the rivers that's in our area. This is the river Wenya. I don't know what that means. It's a Mapudungun word, which I don't know what it means. I just know that's what it is. So that's just one of the rivers that we have in our area here. One thing about here in the south is that you'll see a lot of, at least in this region, you'll see a lot of eucalyptus trees. On the edge of the road here, they're not eucalyptus, it's bamboo and native trees, but just behind that you see these kind of reddish brown tip trees, and those are all eucalyptus trees. Those are farmed trees. They are placed there to use for plywood and for fence post, I think they say. The rain is kind of cloudy and foggy and dense today. In that background, in the very, very back, you can see a light shade of a hill. All of that is eucalyptus as well, and it's really, if you look now as we come down this hill, to the right and to the left, like over there, you can see all those eucalyptus. The windshield's really, really dirty, so sorry about that. I promise I have actually cleaned the windshield between my videos, but I keep saying it's really dirty because it's always just dirty. So those are all eucalyptus as well, and they harvest them every, I think they said 10 years, to take them up to the plant in the region just above this one. They throw them on the big lathes and they turn out the different plies of wood, the different grade thicknesses of wood, so that they can make plywood. And they also chip it up to make OSB board, and they also, when they get down to the center, roll, or the core of the tree, they use those as fence posts here, so that you can, stick them in the ground and put barbed wire on them or whatever for the farmers. So that's actually a pretty big business here. It's kind of a business that causes contention, because farmers say that the eucalyptus echa perder, ruin farmland, pasturage and stuff like that, because eucalyptus evidently have very wide spreading roots. And so they say that the ground won't be usable for cultivating again. I don't know. I mean, I know in some places, some of the neighbors in the country out here have planted a lot of eucalyptus on steep inclines, because the root system does spread out so far, it actually helps against erosion. So that's good. And out here they have a lot of problems with mudslides and landslides, especially in the rainy season in the winter. You can maybe see a little bit of why. You can see how steep, like out there in front of the road, that hillside with all the trees on it. And most of that has a big slab of rock under it, so when it rains, and then we get high winds out here a lot of times, we get like 60, 80 mile an hour winds. So you have rain softening up the soil, you have trees being blown back and forth, so water starts to seep through, and then it eventually gets to where it separates the dirt from the rock, and then you have these massive landslides that sometimes cover the road. Not so much out here, but toward Cochamo and stuff like that, it covers the road more. We're on Cerro Codicia, which means, what does that mean? Envy Hill, and well, you can't see anything. I was going to show you River Petroe and the valley, but well, it's raining too hard and the clouds are too low, so all you saw was a little bit of fog. There's a couple of gravel roads out here in this area of the 10th region, where they have a number of fisheries on them, or hatcheries on them, for salmon cultivation. And these roads get really bad in the winter, and these guys in these trucks for the fisheries, they love to fly down these roads. I mean, 80 miles an hour, 90 miles an hour. And there's at least 3 rollovers every year on these roads. And in fact, last week when we came out here, we saw a fairly new Toyota Hilux flipped over in the ditch with the windshield crushed in and the hood crushed in. I forgot to take a photo of it, honestly, but yeah, these roads can be pretty dangerous, and they've recently widened this road out, so now that two cars can get by and still have a decent amount of space in between them. But some of the gravel roads out here are not that wide, and these guys, they like to fly out here. Even the locals and the tourists, they come out here and like to fly, and it can get kind of sketchy sometimes. So this is in the Reloncaví estuary, and if you see all these little dots and specks out there, they're actually buoys, and they're holding up links of rope or cable, and then from those cables they have strips of mesh that hang straight down, and that is what they end up catching. What are they called? Cholgas. What are cholgas? Mussels. They end up catching mussel seeds on those, and then they let them grow, and then they cultivate them. So there's just like hundreds and hundreds of these little strips of mesh out there hanging down in the water, and they grow cholgas on them, and then they go out there on a platform. There's a platform over here I'll show you as we drive by. I was mentioning earlier with the mussels that they cultivate here, or grow and then sell. These are the mesh that they use, the net that is cut into strips, as you can see with that one there. They're about 3 meters long or so, which is about 10 feet long approximately. And that's what hangs. They just hang straight down in the water off of a rope that runs tied to those buoys, and they stick to that, and then they grow on that. This here is the platform they use. They pull that platform out into the water because now it's like extreme low tide. The tide will actually come up and cover over these rocks in front of the platform, and then they'll pull it out there with a boat, and they will stand on the platform and pull up the strips of mesh and start pulling the mussels off of them, and then they put them in mesh sacks, and then they ship them off to Puerto Montt to have them sold in the market or whatever they do up there with them. This here is actually a very typical stove, or a very common stove that you see out in the country. It's an old country stove. They have the fire here. They use the oven here on this side for bread. Very, very common. They have the ashtray down there. They use water boilers. And then this here is actually a hot water heater. Water comes in through the line fitting in the back there, and it fills up with water, and as the heat goes through the chimney of the stove up and out, the cylinder around the outside of the chimney there actually heats up the water, and then they have another line that comes out the top for the hot water, and it runs along their house there. So that's actually very common here in the South because they burn so much wood and use the stove so much, and it worked really, really well for them. Don't forget to stop by my websites, ericmcgrew.tv, ERICMCGREW.tv, offroadindependence.com, and beginnersfab.com.